afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayei Ogwo, and I'm the moderator for the panel discussion, Women and Effective Leadership in Northern Nigeria. Before we jump in, this is my first time in Kaduna. Yeah, so I would like a welcome from the audience. Can you welcome me? Thank you. I know a few words like Abinchi, Ruwa, Shinkafa, Albasa. You notice it's all food, yeah? I know Makaranta. I know Dayabi Ukuhudu Biyashida. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to dive right in. It's a pleasure to have this panel. Every single one of us giving and gorgeous. Amazing. I'm just excited to be here. I'm going to start with a question, which is important in this time. What has been, I'm going to start with you, Tamar. What has been your experience working in a male-dominated field? Now, everybody's going to answer, but I want to start with Tamar.
Hello, everyone. I really like this question because I think people, when they ask, always expect me to, descend and into stories of how it's grueling and all of the ways I have been offended. But in my experience, it's been surprisingly not the case. I think, first of all, we have our principal, His Excellency the Governor, who has made it clear that he believes that there's, a place for women at the table. And that's reflected in everything, like in every way. I think there are times when we're in certain meetings and there are more women at the table than men. So that's, But then on the flip side, where I actually work on the day-to-day in the market, it's very traditional, and so you expect that there will be a lot of kickback against, having a female leader in the market. And there has been, but I think they take a cue from His Excellency, and they know that this is the leader that they have, and since they can't change it, there's almost no, they have to get on board.
So they have to get on
right?
board.
Yes, and then, but then also, I think maybe it's also just a function of effectiveness, and so the results that you're able to deliver. And so once you give people benefits, they will get on board if it's in their interest. I think it's my experience.
Okay. So Grace, over to you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Lola, for having me. Sorry if I'm a little jittery. I'm behind the camera most of the time. I'm not really in the front of... Yeah, so my experience in filmmaking in the creative space, like Tamar, it's actually been great. It's actually been good because creativity really doesn't know any gender or anything. And in the creative process, you actually lean on other people to get an idea out. The process of conceptualization, even production on set. I came into this industry way over my 30s after being a wife, having kids, and being lost. And so by the time I came in as a photographer initially, and by the time I came, I think it was almost normal to see women with cameras and stuff and see people directing and stuff. Although it wasn't, not as now, because Instagram wasn't that big, but it's been good. The guys allow you to have the camera, the guys tell you what to do, so it's really been good.
That's great. Phoebe, our commissioner.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I have a slightly different case because we have 3 metropolitan authorities in Kaduna State, and 2 of us are women.
Which is amazing.
Yes, which I think it is now a female-dominated area. And it's actually a new concept up north, but then with the setting up of the metropolitan authorities, we look at it as a challenge. We look at it as not as a challenge per se, but something that, yes, as the pioneering commissioners, we need to make an impact. And as women who have the greater managerial skills, among all other folks, we think it is an opportunity for us to really exhibit that talent, to really come out with that passion, to come up with a smart city and see how we'll be able to make the difference. Even though a lot of people were actually looking out to seeing that the first administrators will be men, but with the backing of our governor, with his belief, with his trust in women, with his passion to make women actually do what they know how to do best, he felt in his own wisdom and in the wisdom of the Executive Council, they felt that women should be given the opportunity to actually exhibit what they know how to do best. So for us in the metropolitan authorities, we think it is a female-dominated area.
So I'm wrong. It's female-dominated, not male.
It's not female-dominated area. Thank you.
Which is amazing. Okay. Tam, I'm coming back to you. Growing up, did you see yourself as somebody who possessed leadership qualities? Or do you think you developed the skills as a leader as time went on? And did you wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a leader, I can do this? Probably when you're 10, 12. Did it happen to you? Because what is amazing for me in your situation is that 33, and it's not that you just started, you've played amazing roles in Kaduna State government before, even at this time. At 33, I don't think, I was thinking about things like this. Do you understand? So did you always see yourself in as a child? Yes, that this is what, were you born a leader?
No, I don't think so. I think I have become one along the way, yes. I think even at school, I believe one of the reasons I did well at school was because I always felt I would have to kind of blend in and not be an outlier. I just had to make sure that certain insurances and guarantees were in place. So you have the skills, you get a job, you move on in life.
Were you a prefect in school?
No.
You're not a prefect? You're not those people that...
I'm terribly shy. I set out to blend in.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, not stand out. Now, still with you, Tamar. Your position as the managing director of Kaduna Markets, do you think it affected your interpersonal relationships? In the sense that, when you close the door, when you finish at work, are you a different person?
Yes, I think so. I think that being a female leader it doesn't matter what your job is, it's going to be really difficult. Because now, when I wake up in the morning and when I leave the house, I show up in the office or I go into the market, I have my mandate, right? There's property development, there's facility management, there's, empowerment. But then, in addition to that, I now have the responsibility of conducting myself accordingly and appropriately. To make sure I'm not either offending people, because I feel I don't have the privilege of focusing on myself when I go to work. Also, like we've said, the governor is also great with that. So I don't have real reasons to advocate for my own self. I'm kind of here now.
Others.
Yes. But going into the market, speaking to the Sarkin Kaswa, which is a traditional role that is appointed by the traditional leader. So maybe the emir or the Sarki in the area has someone who resides over the market. Then in most markets also, there's also a mosque, right? So you also have an imam in the market. You also have the unions and you also have all of those people. So it makes it really different, right? Because now I can't just go up in the market and say boy. I have to figure out how to say boy. Okay. I have to make sure that when I say boy, they understand that it is boy that I mean. Okay. I have to make sure that I look appropriate so that I don't take away from the room, right? When I go into a room, it's not about how I look or whether, I'm pretty or whether I'm not. So there's just all of these subtle added pressures in addition to whatever it is you actually have to do. So it definitely affects your interpersonal relationships, whether you're being offended and restraining yourself or trying not to offend. It's just, subtle little distractions.
That's taking me to my next question. Based on the fact that we have patriarchy in the society and our religious or cultural beliefs, I'll start with you, Grace. Yes. How do you navigate getting your message across as a leader in the movie-making industry? How do you do that with patriarchy and with religious and cultural beliefs?
Cultural beliefs, traditional beliefs, religious beliefs are things that I've set as my assignment to celebrate the ones that are positive and poke at the ones that I think are harmful to human existence and individuals and the society. And so, again, honestly, it's funny because it's funny how when I work in Kano, for instance, filming, doing documentaries and stuff, it's the reception, honestly, my answer will be a little bit different from what it should be. It's very supportive. I find that I wish I could say, yes, there's patriarchal system, and then if I would have to go straight to your answer, it's honestly, like Tamar said, knowing how to deliver your message, making sure you do not offend, although sometimes you can't escape that you do offend people, but your delivery, like I was saying to someone, if you're in the north, the way of your delivery will be different from if you're in America, for instance. You can't go, in America, they can go shut the door, you must break the door upon the house, feminists and stuff. But here, you can't do that, right? Yesterday, we talked about it. You have to even have the opportunity to be on the table before you can even deliver your message. So you have to be, I don't want to say subtle, because sometimes you can be subtle for 100 years. You can be aggressive, but then there's a middle ground where you can actually deliver a message. Speaking of how I work, when I go, the men are like, oh, Machi, the camera, and stuff. They welcome you. They tell you what to do. They support you. So in my work, there's patriarchal system, but really in the movie industry, in the creative media industry, I can speak for myself as a producer. Maybe a makeup artist will feel differently because she would have to be the one going around. But for me, and I will stand for myself. Anyway, if you come at me, I'll come for you.
That's fine. I would just want us to know a little bit about you as individuals. Because I always feel that even before one becomes a leader or is given a position, there's the person first. And there's the mind, there's a way the person thinks and the way the person projects things or wants to do things. So I want everybody to get to know a little bit about you. So I'm going to start with you, Phoebe. What's your daily mantra in life? When you wake up in the morning, what do you tell yourself before you start the day? I'm going out as the commissioner. What do you tell yourself to inspire yourself to do what you need to do as an effective leader?
Thank you. First thing every morning that I do is to hand over myself to God. After my morning devotion, I try to look at how alert will I be during the day. So to prepare myself for that alertness, I try to do a little exercise, just a little.
Exercise?
Yes, I try to
Phoebe,
jog.
when you say exercise, what type of exercise?
I jog.
You jog?
Yes, I jog,
you walk?
Yes, I come back, I do press up, I do some movement around.
Press up?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Press up?
Yeah, sure.
How many?
Oh, really?
Huh?
Really? Seriously? Huh? Sometimes, you might not believe me, but I try the little I can.
I wish you could send us a video of the press up. The walking I understand, but the press up, because even me, my waist.
And what about the jogging?
The jogging, yes, because you can jog delicately, you can jog, but waist.
Yeah.
Press up.
Yeah.
As in not the fake one.
Yes, no.
Well, you can tell from how she looks.
Okay.
I try that as much as I can.
Okay.
At least just to make sure that I'm alert and to be sure that I'm able to carry out my assignment throughout the day, yes, without feeling lazy and without feeling so wind up and things like that. Okay. So after that, I come back, I'll take my bath, get ready for the office, and then the first thing again, once I get into the office, is to to prepare a schedule for myself.
Okay.
What do I want to achieve for today? What are my tasks for today? How do I follow up on those tasks? Do I have meetings? Do I have guests to see? Do I have, a leftover work for yesterday that I need to is there anything that I left yesterday undone? I look at all those and then I'll try to follow through to see that I'm able to meet up, and then the people what I was set out to do yesterday, was I able to achieve it successfully? Because at the end of the day, again, I'm going to evaluate myself.
And be accountable.
Yes. What I set out for myself for the day, how much of it was I able to achieve? If I did not achieve it, what was it that I did not achieve, and why did not achieve it? So that I try to see how I'll overcome tomorrow's task, or how I'll be able to overcome today's task before the end of the day. So with that, what other work do I need, or did I not do completely? Was I able to carry my staff along? Was I able to carry out all the tasks to the end, so that at least we're able to start on a clean slate for this day? Or the work left undone yesterday, do I need to clear them off before I do today's own, or has it been overtaken by event? And then we'll look at to say, okay, what were the challenges that I faced yesterday? How do I overcome them today? How do I set up new tasks for me again for tomorrow, so that I'm able to work along with my staff to be able to clear all the outstanding tasks and then set up for new ones?
Thank you. Because you've told us about press-ups, you told us about, yes, self-evaluation, which I love. And you're not just talking about that for yourself, you're also talking about with your staff as well, so that you achieve what you have set out to for the day. Okay, thank you. That was very interesting. Grace, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
I started stalking you on Instagram. And then I saw this quote that I really loved about, where you put up a quote from Sensei Ogwo. I had to find out who Sensei Ogwo, because I was like, where is Grace getting? When people quote, at least you know if it's from this person or that person, but she's getting from okay, let me just get to the quote. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. What inspired you to put up that quote?
Whew.
Is it deep?
It doesn't compete. No, it's not deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it was deep. It's deep for me. Now I'm
Yes.
thinking about it, I'm in an easier place. But it was from a low place. It was from a place of reassuring yourself, speaking to yourself to like, you know what, Grace Yakubu, you got this. In the creative industry or creative process, sometimes, I feel like creative people they have scoring sometimes. And I also feel like...
Do you think they're eccentric?
Yeah. I feel like they're very high highs and they're very low lows for creatives. Like for instance, when we go on set, the early morning 6 o'clock call time, you're sleeping 2 a.m. and stuff. It's chaotic. You're all fighting. You're all trying to get stuff done. But then you stay maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But then when I go home you hate it there. But then when you go home, you miss it. For me, I always sort of even get depressed a bit after set. So that stuff was sometimes when you look around and you're like, oh, you haven't achieved, you haven't done this, or you shot a movie, you don't have a movie you don't have the money to post-produce, or a certain thing you wanted hasn't happened. It can be depressing. So that quote really was more of like, okay, you can focus, refocus. If it's blurry, if it's not showing well, you can't see, just like the lens, just readjust the camera or the lens, then you can see clearly. So I was speaking to myself, right?
Thank you, and speaking to me too. I'm going to ask you another question. For 2022 AMVCAs, I saw that you were rooting for Asabe Madaki. I don't know if she's here. For the Best Actress Award for, yes. Is she here?
That was our Viola Davis, right?
You're rooting for her.
Yeah.
For Best Actress. I know she didn't win.
Yeah, she should have.
Yeah, but have you directed her? Well,
so I'm a baby filmmaker. It's not like I have lots of films. I was working in TV before. I would say yes and no. Yes and no, because when I did Haske Mata Arewa, is a docu-series on northern women, that's my entry into TV production and kind of what we call film. I did have her on an episode, Asabi had, because when I saw her, then she wasn't nominated. You know, I just knew there was potential and she was a great performer, so I did that. But I missed on an opportunity in my first feature where she was supposed to play a lead, and for some reason of miscommunication.
Then now she's a star.
Yes, and now I have to pay more money than I then. So I said, please, I'm sorry that it didn't work out, because she had the script, but it just didn't, and I would take the blame for that. So I hope to direct her because she's a phenomenal actor. She is.
Thank you.
Please, can you clap for Asabe? Not for me. She's
clap
cool.
For Asabe,
yeah,
and also clap for.
Madaki.
Okay, I also want to put out there that my brother was nominated for Best Actor 2022 AMVCAs.
Okay, should we clap for him too?
Please clap for
Who's
him
your brother?
F5 if you are watching next year.
Okay, F5.
Hopefully, yes. So I'm going to move on to Tamar. You have this initiative, which I find very interesting. That's why I want to see this part of you, which I think people don't actually get to see. Everybody sees you as managing director of market, and then the name is so long. Why did they make the name so long? Managing director of Kaduna Market, and there's still management after that. Does it make it more powerful to make the name longer? It doesn't end. I had to check it out so that I don't make a mistake. Let me check my script. Managing Director of Kaduna Markets Development and Management Company. It is so long. It's almost like when you walk in, they should expect somebody who is like 6'4", who says, market, and everything falls into place. But that's not the question I'm getting to. That was just to get you to laugh. The Aloe and Ivy Children's Initiative, I found that interesting about you. It's not it's not a side of you that I think people might see as a leader. What made you start that initiative?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about Aloe and Ivy. And
why did you pick the name?
In a sense, to also remind myself about what it is that I'm actually passionate about. So the Aloe and Ivy Children's Initiative is an NGO which I have founded to advocate for the right of children to play and engage in recreational activities. This is a right that has been recognized by the UN, part of the UN conventions on the rights of children. And I'll just touch briefly on what you said earlier when you asked me if I was a leader, if I felt like I was born a leader. And I said no. But I think also that at the same time, when I look back upon my experience, I find that I am the sum of all of my experiences. And so that I had been coming even when I didn't see myself coming. So in that sense, I'm very particular about the phases, about what one goes through and what their life experiences are like. And when I think of myself as a child, all I wanted to do was play. I don't think I really had time to focus on, am I a leader? Do I have it in me? Do I? Right? And so I think this is my contribution to solving, issues like almajire and even just conflict. I have an academic background in conflict resolution. And so I'm very particular about grievances and what inspires grievances and where they come from. And so to bring all of that together, I think that children in Nigeria, children in northern Nigeria, have no business standing on the side of the road wondering where their next meal is going to come from. I think a child in that position is obviously going to also identify differences between themselves and those other kids who get to sit in the car and get dropped off at school and things like that. So these are things I think very early on start to build division, start to build, this is my community and that's their community. And I think it's very important that we catch children young and give them a sense of belonging. We want to put kids in school. Not every child will go to school, right? But there are so many important components of play, right? When a child is playing, they're building their muscles, they're stimulating their minds, they're learning interpersonal communication with other people, learning conflict resolution, who gets to go on the slide first, who gets to use the swing first. So I think it's just a way for me that allows children be children and kind of protect that innocence and also just give them something fun to do, because it really bothers me. I think I'm just like, why is this child standing on the road looking for food? Like, I didn't have to look for my own food. And yes, like just basically a safe space for kids.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's amazing. It's an amazing initiative. Amazing. Phoebe, I think, what does the Kafanchan community, how do they view you? And then what plans do you have for them as the commissioner?
Well, for me in Kafanchan, on a daily basis, I don't see myself as a commissioner.
What do you see yourself as?
I see myself as part of the team.
That's amazing.
So
you're not
part of the
putting
team.
yourself as someone above.
No.
You're just trying to get something done.
Because one thing about me is I love community work.
Oh, that's amazing.
So each time I wake up in the morning, if I have to meet with stakeholders, if I have to engage with the community, I don't present myself as a commissioner. I present myself as a member of the team. So we're working together as a team, and then we're looking at each other as just partners in progress. Because right from childhood, from primary school, I think I've held some leadership positions, and I don't want always to see myself as, being the leader, but also being part of the team. Yes, just part of the team. Because I think from secondary school in Queen Amina College, I was the senior prefect.
Senior prefect?
Yes, I was the senior prefect.
Were you the one punishing people when they did?
No, I don't think I ever did.
Okay.
But I made sure that junior students were never punished. So anytime they see me, they know that they are free.
Oh, you're the one fighting for the junior...
Oh, yes, because, secondary school, seniority now sometimes doesn't really have a cause for that.
Yes.
So, and when we came for my A-levels at the Kaduna College of Art, Science and Technology then, I was the Vice President Student Union.
Okay.
And when
Vice President Students Union?
Yes. And when
Phoebe, you have been a leader since you were born.
No, just a member of the team. And when we got to ABU, I think I was in one of the forefront campaigners for Naja'atu Ahmed to produce the first female president of Student Union in ABU. Yes. But for me, I feel that at every level, everyone is a leader in your own capacity. So I don't look at myself as being that leader. So for me in Kafanchan, under the Metropolitan Authority or under the Municipal Authority, I see myself working with the people as just part of the team to build the new city of our dream. So when we engage, I don't tell them that this is my dream, but this is our dream. So we start the planning together, we engage from the beginning, we try to find out what are the problems, what are the solutions. I don't impose my ideas on them, but identify your problem. And once you identify your problem, okay, how do we resolve it? How do we get the solution? Because for every meeting that we meet, for every meeting that we gather and we identify a problem, there is a solution in that meeting. Because if there is no solution, you will not even look at it as a problem in the first place. So how do we come about solving that problem? So we plan together and see how we will walk the walk together, how we'll walk our talk together. If it fails, it's a collective failure. If we win, it's a collective, a triumph, yes. So I don't always want to see myself as commissioner or someone leading the people, but let's work together. Because there's always the saying in Hausa, Mugudu tari, tari, mutsira tari. So if we believe in that, that is we run together and we win together.
Win together.
Yes, we run together. Yes, that's the translation. So at every meeting, we try to see, let them even tell us what their problems are. What are your priorities? If these are your priorities, and besides, we are not just working as in isolation as a metropolitan authority, but we'll work with the local government councils. Okay. So you as the local government council, what are your priorities? Okay. Because when it comes to funding, it's a co-funding. State government has 60% and then the local government have 40% to pay. So if it is not your priority, we cannot take it over because at the end, the local government will say it was your project, so carry on. And then we cannot also tell the community that this is what we want to do for you because at the end they will say it is your project. So from the planning stage, we always try to involve them so that we have this top-bottom approach so that there will be ownership. And if there's ownership, there's going to be sustainability. So we try as much as possible to make them, let them tell us what their priorities are. And if they know what their priorities are, okay, you have maybe 5 priorities. Out of the 5, let us have your highest priority. So we start from there, yes, so that we begin to work, we work our talk together. So in everything that we do, we work as a team.
For your leadership, it's more about, like you said, listening to the people?
Yes.
Working with the people as a team?
Yes.
And then you work together?
Yes. What I always try to do is, okay, let me try as much as possible to be the people person.
Okay. To be a people leader.
Yeah, to be the people person. If you read the book of the book written by John Maxwell, the people person. So you try, there are people in every community.
Yes.
You have difficult people and you have the soft people.
Yes.
So you need to listen to them. The ones that are trying to prove stubborn, yes, you have to have that patience.
Patience.
To be able
so that's
to
your
work with them
strategy
to
with trying to
yes.
get the people
involved.
On your side.
Engage with the stakeholders, engage with the communities, engage with the traditional authorities, engage with the youth most especially, because most of the time they are the ones that, they are the pillars of the society. So if you don't carry them along, you are in for trouble.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that was well said and well spoken. Thank you. Grace, I'm coming to you. The movies. I love Ava DuVernay. She's a female black director, and she directed When They See Us. And I like her because she's directing stories that matter. She's telling her stories are very, what's the word? I'm looking for the right word. They're very provocative. Yeah. Her stories are provocative. They shock the people. But it's raw. She's telling the story. I also love Kemi Adetiba. Okay. I love her because she's attention to detail, and she's also trying to tell a story as well. Yeah. So what kind of story are you trying to tell? What kind of stories do you want to see in years to come as a movie maker, as a female director?
From photography, let me even give a little background. So I was working, I was a wife. When I say a wife, I mean someone that didn't really have anything doing for a while, just being a wife, yeah. And so after a while, I got a job. My first entry to even ever seeing anything was having a camera in it's so cliche, but my dad bought a camera when we were small. And after a while, and I knew that I wanted to do...
What type of camera was it?
I don't know, maybe Fuji or something, honestly. I was just like 10. I don't think I ever shot anything.
Your dad bought you a camera?
No, he didn't buy me a camera. Oh, he went to Czechoslovakia. Then, because military people used to go for course, he's a military man, so he went there, and part of what he brought was a camera, yeah. So, not really knowing what to do, I kind of lost my sense of being purposeful about my life. But so I just got a job, I think at 30 or 31, and but one day, not doing what I didn't like to do. After going to an office, I just realized it clicked back to what I wanted to do. And so I went one day, I resigned, and I bought a camera. And so I said, oh, I'm going to be a fashion photographer. I went to London Fashion School, and I was going for courses. I was going to do fashion and stuff. And I came. I love the creative process. You put the mood board together, you do everything. I will take pictures. But then when I go to edit the pictures, I'll be touching the makeup, and I'm like, what does this red lipstick have to do with my life? It just felt very vain for me. Like, if I adjust...
You needed something deeper.
Yes, I just felt very unfulfilled, and yes, photography, yes, cameras, yes, but what kind of work was I doing? And so I had an opportunity to, just casually, somebody said, do something about yourself. Now, to answer your question, I like to tell ordinary stories. But ordinary stories of people that are defiant. I like rebellious people. When Lola said she likes people that are stubborn, I like to tell ordinary, I don't want to say extraordinary stories. It's extraordinary stories, but I like to tell ordinary northern stories. That is my calling now. That is my assignment. Living in Lagos made me appreciate my culture and my people and the nostalgic feeling I feel when the dancer was doing with the music. That house music, growing up in Ochai, yeah.
Ochai or Gaba.
I was dancing, so my...
You're dancing?
Yeah, I was dancing, sitting. So my point is, the ordinary stories I want to tell...
Is Ochai here?
No, I was dancing to the cultural music. That's to tell you.
Beautiful.
So in another 10 years, the kind of stories I want to tell, first of all, I know they're northern-based, but maybe in a contemporary setting, we'll probably not be dancing Indian music in the film, but ordinary people, but real, like, normal people and the things that they go through. I'm not interested in superheroes or stuff. Like when I did the documentaries about women, one of the most touching one was a normal woman called Mama Sani in Kano. She was just an extraordinary woman because she stood through her son who was a drug addict, through the pain of it. She loved him till death. and she stood by it. While I interviewed and did stuff with big social media, northern influencers, I felt vain again doing that. So yes, roots, stories of the North and stories of ordinary people. Yes.
Of the North and real people.
Yeah, real people. Thank you.
Thank you. Tamar, I'm coming to you. Okay. The statistics, as the director of markets, do you talk to more men or women just by going about your role?
I talk to more men, but it's funny because there's not a stereotype about a market man, right? The stereotype is about a market woman. And so when you go into the market, you see women everywhere. But then when it comes to, talking about the high level, how do we build this market? How do we put up structures to manage this market? They're usually men.
Okay.
And how I respond to that is I just make it clear that I want to see women in my meetings. So when I go into a room and I see a woman, I light up, and I do that on purpose. And I spend my time talking about her and saying how she got here and things like that. And then I commend the men for bringing a woman along. And then I also insist that I want women in their meetings. So when I invite like a market association, I will always insist that, bring my women for me. And when I go to site, I always ask, where is the woman leader here? And I take her number and I ask her who her people are. But then it goes, further to say, okay, what kind of policies are we putting in place? So with the sales of shops that we have just, we're doing, it's an ongoing process where we're trying to transfer ownership of the shops to the traders, so they're not tenants, they actually own it and become property owners. And of course, we set a target for ourselves for, say, okay, we're going to get in as many women as possible. And, in this...
So you are basically advocating to have more women.
Yes, but it's also, and I'm happy to use this opportunity to once again just advocate to women for women. So this is me telling women to also advocate for yourself and to take advantage. Because in my experience, even when you say you want to set a target of 30% for women, the women, you still end up with participation of like 15% or 22%. And I'm just wondering why and where they are. So we also have another project.
So do you think there's something you need to do to get them more interested or to,
Yes. So we also have another project where our beneficiaries are households. And so we set again a target for ourselves to achieve 30%. But then we took it a step further by also sensitizing them. And what the message was is that you can register as the head of your household.
Oh, that's interesting. What if there's a man that is already the head of the household?
So if there's a man that is already the head of the household, that's fine. But what we did was immediately bring up women who are divorced, women who
Single
are
mothers.
widowed, and things like that, and say, your family can still participate. A man doesn't have to kind of represent your family. Depending on the circumstance that you find yourself, you can be the head of your household. But then it also takes us back to that collaborative approach of advocacy that Grace had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Because a lot of times in this hard-to-reach communities, you want to engage women. So even when it's a purely women's program, you find that you have to engage the men as well. Because when you go to collect like their data and you say, okay, what's your name, what's your number?
Yes.
A lot of times you get the number of a male relative. And so it means that he will always be a gatekeeper. You have to then collaborate with him. He's going to let her know if she can show up to the town hall. He's going to decide if she can pick up the calls. When you say, I want to speak to Asma, is he going to say yes or no? Because usually he will ask you why you're calling, right? So you also don't want to be seen as somebody who is kind of robbing them off of that traditional setting that they have. Because now he's going to be concerned what I'm telling Asma, or am I putting in all of these weird ideas in her head? And, so I always just try to encourage women, especially in Kaduna State, to say, look, you have a government that supports you, just take advantage. And then to tell women to just encourage women to participate. There's no reason why we should set a target of 30% and then we end up, so we're trying, so even when you're advocating, it's not enough. They also have to feel safe enough to step up and be counted and say, yes, I'm here and I want to participate.
Okay, based on what you've just said, I find that it's important for what you're just saying. You want to encourage more women to be involved. That is, for me, that's also a glass ceiling that needs to be broken. Now, for me at your age and for the role you play as the managing director of Kaduna Markets, that is a ceiling that has been broken as well. What are your views on mentorship and in creating space for the generation coming behind you to know that even at 25, when I listened to the critics, the company yesterday, the young men that Lola Shone interviewed, that panel, they're 18, and they hadn't just started. 18, 19, 20, 21. You're talking about young, vibrant minds. In my time, when you saw people at that age, you are thinking they are still too young, or they are still immature, or they are not, settled enough to make decisions. But you're talking about people in their 20s, or people who have started. So how do you create that space for mentorship, and so that the younger generation knows, they know that by the time I'm 25 or 20, I can be managing director because I can make those decisions, and my mind is vibrant enough and global enough to be at the table. So how do you see that?
It's teamwork. So I work with like a great team of young people.
Around you.
Yes. And I've also been the young person working on someone else's. I think what we've been able to achieve in Kaduna State with women empowerment and youth empowerment is actually really remarkable. So in Kaduna State, it's not unusual to show up to a meeting and everyone there is like, and I'm not even the bright one here. There's even people, so many of us who are even younger than I am. So I'm not even so special. This is not unusual.
Oh, you're special.
All,
Some
right?
are your MD, you are special.
No, I'm looking at another young MD, another young female MD right there, as I'm sitting here talking to you, right? Employed by Kaduna State as well. So I think
a young
whether
woman?
yes.
MD, is she here?
Yes.
Where is she?
She's
Can
looking back. Even
Can
though
we
she
see?
knows we're looking for her. But
What's her name? I just want to know who she is.
Her name is Dolapo.
Dolapo. Dolapo, please, can you stand up?
She's the managing director of the Kaduna Power Supply Company. So there's so many of us.
I love it.
There's so many of us.
I have been clapping so hard. Thank you.
And so it's not even my responsibility to put in place a mentorship structure. I have inherited the mentorship structure.
Oh my
what
goodness.
I need to do is carry it through.
Just
My
implement
special
it.
assistant is considerably younger than me. All of the people that I work with, most of them are really young, right? So the mentorship is not now mentorship in terms of saying, oh,
doesn't
look,
have
I
to
have
be
a
formal.
mentorship program.
Okay.
The mentorship is now a responsibility on me and how I conduct myself and the opportunities that I create for them to also contribute to what I'm doing.
Thank you. Phoebe, I have a question for you. What are your views, or what will you tell the younger generation of women coming after concerning leadership and being effective? You've given us an idea of what your day is like. You've given us the concept of how the Kafanchan community is going to, by virtue of your vision for leadership, how things are going to get done. What are you going to tell the young women coming after you that they can also be effective as leaders and get it done, and that they do have a space on the table?
What I want to tell our women here in this hall and the women out there, and especially the women in Kafanchan Municipal Authority, is for them to believe in themselves and to also understand that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And then understandably also that you train a woman, you are training an entire community. You train a man, you are training an individual. And then I want us also to believe, in my own opinion, and in the words of Victor Hugo in the book of Esther, a woman of such a time as this, where he said, It's a French novelist. He said, men have sight. Men, they have the sight, but women have the insight. Men have the sight, and women have the insight. So you find out that structurally and in a cultural way, women impact more and bring us solutions. So we try as much as possible to see how we try to present ourselves in the eyes of other women that will bring development, not only to their community, but also to the entire state, and by extension to the nation and to the world. And then you find out that in a lot of organizations, again, where women have leadership positions, you find greater achievements, you find greater development, you find greater patience, you find greater training, you find greater participation, all right? So what I would like to tell our women and our girls out there is to see themselves in positions of not just being emotional, but in positions that they can be emotional but yet bring in development.
Okay,
they can be emotional but yet bring in fast development and encouraging other women so that they can look at themselves as not being the inferior people, but also the exceptional people that will bring extraordinary achievement in whatever way they find themselves, whatever field they find themselves.
Thank you. I just feel like just sitting just listening to you literally all day. One thing I would like to say about Phoebe is that when I met her, she made me feel so comfortable. I first of all thought, oh, commissioner, should I say commissioner? And all that. Should I do that? And she said, no, just call me Phoebe. And that made me so, yes. That made me feel, and then she gave me a warm hug. So she made me, yes, just to close that gap. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to throw the questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. So how do we, as women, bridge the gap between those at the top? Yes, now, see my womb. We bridge the gap between those at the top and all those cultural influences, because I, for one, as a teacher, most times I try to empower my girls in the classroom. I give them lots of positions, and sometimes the parents, even the mothers themselves, come and query me for allowing girls have some level of freedom and expression, that no, they are girls, they shouldn't be allowed to express themselves, and I don't know. So how do we bridge that gap? Thank you.
Can I? I believe in showcasing. And a practical example is Haskemata Arewa that I did. When we put on TV, we decided to go around the country and showcase women, other women that were not necessarily big portfolios, but ordinary women that are able to be, that are resilient and again, like I said, stubborn, come out of cultural ties or things that had said they would not be able to do, and they got to do them. A lot of, Arewa 24 then told me that a lot of the people that were watching the program and responding were men. So you are a man, you're talking to the women, somehow distorted. I feel use other women to showcase both to the parents and to the children and say, see this, she speaks your language, she lives in the same community, she drinks the same water, she dresses the same way that you do, but she's made it. So I believe in that showcase, like what we're doing now. And like I'm so impressed and amazed as how meeting Tamar, I feel so small. Like when you keep saying young people, over 40, we don't have work here. So it's amazing to see the young women in Kaduna. Like it's mind-blowing that the governor is doing that, and so incredible. Because now other young girls are seeing it and they can aspire to be like a Tamar.
I'm going to take a question from, oh, sorry. Tamar, you want to say something?
So I think, and it's the same thing that she was saying, is to advocate. But how do you advocate? So I think I try to advocate strategically in a way that actually delivers results. I don't advocate to provoke people's sensibilities and prove my point. I want to ultimately get that lady, that girl in school. And so I think showcasing is a very strategic way to do that. But then also this allows us to talk about allies, right? The reason I say I advocate strategically is because when I provoke your sensibilities or offend you, you're less likely to speak to me again. You're also less likely to change my point, your point of view. But when we're talking about structural inequalities, some of these things are written into our actual laws, right? And if we continue to have more male representation in government, it means that the only way that clause is going to be struck out is if I'm able to get the men on board with me. And so I ultimately try to say, what's the end result? The end result is to get women in school. It's not to make a man feel bad because, oh, his daughter is at home, right? So, and you should also, like she said with showcasing, treasure the little victories. So people feel frustrated because they're advocating and then they don't think this, it's happening. But if you show up at someone's house and the father or the mother turns you away, but then you have that interaction has occurred in a way that allows them to listen to you again the next time, that allows you to feel safe that you can go back and knock on the door and say, even if it's exactly the same thing that you said, that's a little victory and you should stick to it and you should, be proud of it and allow it to inspire you to do even more.
Thank you. Thank you. A question from the gentleman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Like yesterday, my name is Muhammad Abdurazak Musa Kofa. And the question I want to ask goes to the oldest woman in the panel. I deliberately refuse to call her name because sometimes names are crazy. I don't want to say it wrongly because the only name I can easily call clearly on the final is the Grace Yakubu. For a part of it, I can't say the other's name correctly. So my question is that as a woman that holds a public offices, is there any challenges that you encounter alongside of your journey? If there is, how did you overcome that challenges? That is my question. Thank you.
I think Phoebe will take that.
Thank you very much for that question, but anywhere you find me, please feel free. If you don't want to call my name, you can just call me mommy. I will still, whatever you want to call. Okay, but I'm always very comfortable if you call me by my name. Okay. Anything that you call it work, there are always challenges. And that is why I said, in our course of engagement, with meeting with our stakeholders or community members, anywhere you have, they say there is a problem, we have identified a problem, there is always a solution. So if there's a problem if we discover that there's a problem in this sitting or in this hall, before we leave here, we'll try to bring out the solution. So that is why I said working together makes it better. Because you are not imposing your decisions or your ideas on people, but you are making them to identify their problems and also to come up with the solutions so that you can now work together as a team to also have results. Let me tell you something. Some few years ago, I had a program in one of the local governments. It was on child protection issues. And we specifically requested that 70 or 75% of the people should be women. But why did we do that? Because we know that women are closer to the children. Women are closer to solving community problems. Women are closer to interacting with their children and other youth in the society. But to my greatest surprise, when we got there, 80% of the participants were men. We call off that training. And I said, if you want us to continue with this training, or if you want us to carry out this training, go back and let us have the women that we requested for. They said, what about our money for today and what? I said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. And by the following day, we had not just 80%, but we had 90% participation of women. And that is to say, why we did that was because in every training we discovered that at the end of that training, whatever we did, or whatever we have done, the men will even leave their folders in the hall and they'll walk away. And by the time they go back home, they will not even disseminate what they had. But women will ensure that they disseminate what they have had and they'll try to follow it to the letter. So for every challenge that you find, there's always a solution. And once we work together as a, as a group or as a people, we will always have solutions. And especially when it is a woman, because we still have people today in our society that look down on women, not forgetting the fact that women are the ones that bring up the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to call on Mr. Jakpo. Yes. What's your question, ma'am? Please.
Hi. Before I ask my question, I want to thank you all for this wonderful panel. I'm not in the habit of tweeting at all, but I have tweeted at least 3 or 4 times since you started this panel. What a brilliant group. Thank you very much. I admire all of you, but in particular, Grace, I want to tell you how impressed I am by what you have been saying. I think it took a lot of courage to walk away at an older age and to start. People don't realize it. Young people actually have more courage than younger people. Young people usually think they can solve anything, but when you're older, you know all the pitfalls. I think you and I have already gotten into it, right? There are always negatives that you can worry about, and yet you have persisted, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it. And I will be the first in line to see any movie that you do in the future. So this wasn't a question, but just to affirm what you are doing and to thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question.
My name is Amina Zakari, and I would like to say this. Every successful woman you see today has a story to share on stigma. Being a lady from the North, my question goes to all the panelists. Being women with leadership qualities, I know there are times that you feel like, I don't want to do this any longer. It's not because you can't do it. No, it's because of the stigma you encounter every blessed day you step out of your homes. And there's this saying that here in the northern Nigeria, people will be like, okay, when a woman is successful, they always call the husband, Ayazama Mujin Hajia. You know, so what are those, how do we overcome that stigma? Thank you.
Okay, please. We'll just have Phoebe respond, and then our time is up. Phoebe, please. Thank you.
See, for any woman, either you are in leadership or not, you need to have, you need to be determined. You need to be committed. You need that resilience so that whatever comes your way, no woman is a failure. No woman is a failure. I just mentioned it here, that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So if you have that emotional instinct and you want to exceed, you want to succeed, all you need to do is to be determined to succeed. You don't throw in the towel. If you are looking back to stigma, we will still be where we were several years ago. So if you, for the love of your child, for the love of your community, be committed, be patient, and remember, as women, there's a book written by Joyce Meyer.
I'm coming to your house to collect all the
Me and my big mouth. Don't close that your big mouth. As long as you have that commitment to succeed, you will succeed.
Yeah,
Don't
let me quickly,
something from
Let
Grace.
me quickly add on that. Sorry, I'm a bit. I understand you've answered. A woman can have all that, and still she's changed to not being able to step forward. So what she's trying to say, I'm resilient. I want to push the ceiling. I want to break the door. I'm unable to do it. And that's where the he for she movement comes in, is to plead and ask our men. And that's why I also talked about showcasing. A man needs to support his wife. First of all, women, don't marry anybody that you know he's not going to support you and think you're going to change him later on. He's not going to do it. Yeah? So, but please, still, because based on our culture and our religion and traditions, there are certain things we can't do without the approval of our husbands. So, men, while you're looking at that lady, oh, Aisha Ogi is a good, Mariam Ogi is a good, Fatih Abubakar, this person, Tamar is good, you're clapping for her, she's good. You have a brain box there in your house that is just sitting there not doing anything. So push her forward. It's admirable to get someone to push you forward. Women actually want men that push them. Not push and to say, do the taking Abinchi. You can do Abinchi and still go out and kick the door and kick asses. Sorry for my word.
Okay.
So I was going to add to that, the simple truth that women don't have a monopoly of failure. Men fail all the time, like we do. And you're sitting down at this table where these guys are, and you're just thinking, oh my God, like some of them are quite dumb, right? So I think that we need to shake off the pressure to say, oh, I'm Tamar and I'm a woman and it's so unusual for me to be here and this is all of this pressure now to perform. I think that you should be confident, especially, so for me, yes, there was a time when there was, a bit of imposter syndrome, to say, okay, how did I get here? Now what? Like, these people are soon going to find out the truth that I actually don't know what's up. But then how I got over that was to say, it's not my business. If they made the decision to put me here and I feel, technically it's a joint failure because you made the decision to put me here. So you made the wrong choice in the first place. So there shouldn't be that pressure to perform or to outperform. Once you're at the table, own it. Just have a bit of confidence every day and you can even fake it till you make it.
Thank you, everyone. We've come to the end of this discussion. It was an honor to be on this panel. I learned something from Phoebe, Grace, and Tamar. And this is Kabafest 2022. Thank you.